What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. So I recently went out to go see this new animated film called The Wild Robot. It's made by DreamWorks and it's directed by Chris Sanders. He's got two story credited from these two original Disney animated film called The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. And he also directed the Lilo and Stitch and the first How to Train Your Dragon. So he's got a lot of great track record as a filmmaker and as a storyteller. And I knew nothing about The Wild Robot. I mean, I've heard that this is based on a novel that was written by Peter Brown, and he did three of those books. And when I saw that trailer, I was like, you know what, this looks promising. I wasn't too blown away by the marketing, but I kept an open mind. And when the people who have seen the movie before it got released, everybody was raving about it. They're saying that this is the one of the best animated film of the year, that this could win an Oscar. So my excitement level had just skyrocketed, and I had to go see this out of curiosity. And I was going to go see it regardless because I was open to seeing some original material that we haven't seen before. And this movie is about a robot named Ross, played by Lupita Nyong'o, who gets shipwrecked on an island, and she has to adapt to this new harsh environment out in the wilderness, surrounded by native animals. And she is built as a servitude, just tries to complete a task. And now her new purpose is to raise a helpless orphan baby goose. I'm gonna get this out of my chest right now. After coming out of the theater, I'm gonna say this right now that this is the best animated film I've seen all year. And I don't get me wrong, Inside Out 2 was my favorite at the time before I saw this movie. But now, after seeing this movie, I'm gonna say I like this movie more than Inside Out 2. I love how all the message is delivered. I love the writing and the story. I was so emotionally moved by this movie. It was funny. I got teary-eyed at times. And it was such a great concept about a robot who was just built as a servitude. But now, as the film progresses, as she's trying to raise this baby goose, she's learning how to become a mother and develop a conscience. And in the beginning, she had no idea what the hell she was doing, so she had to make it up as she went along as she was raising this baby goose. She comes across with this lone fox, played by Pedro Pascal, who's egotistical and comes out a very jerk at first, but he starts to come around and try to help the Ross to help raise this baby goose. And I thought that the screen time that she and the Pedro Pascal had together was great. The chemistry worked. I was so emotionally connected by these three characters, especially the baby goose who one day grows up. And I thought that how they did the time jump was so well paced, and it never felt like it was dragged on, and I was completely transported in this world. I mean, it was really a great message and a very relatable story about showing the parent's perspective and learning how to raise a child. And because as a child, when you're growing up, you think that your parents have all the answers, but then as you grow, you start to see that they're just as confused as you are. And the parents were always trying to be overprotective and trying to prepare you for the real world. And I thought that how they did it was so well done. And she has to sacrifice her programming and her purpose to what she was originally made to do. And she wants to do everything she can to protect this child. And I thought that how they did it was so well constructive. And through the core of the film, it's really about just showing us that even in our that we are built in our nature to survive and adapt, but at the end of the day, we can be more than just adapting to survive. And even when she's surrounded by these animals who are scared of this robot, calling her a monster, giving her a hard time, doesn't feel like she belongs into the environment, but as she does her good deeds to others, they start to come around and try to help her and help the child. And I thought that they did it so well. I really love the animation style. I love how they did it hand painting, and they did a mixture of the CG 3D animation at the same time. And this is something that DreamWorks has been wanting to do a little bit differently. The last film that I seen them do with this animation style was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, that came out a couple of years ago, which I really loved that film, and it was much better than the first movie. And I regret not seeing this in the cinema. And I'm so glad that I did not skip out on this movie. I'm a little bit worried that this movie is not going to do well at the box office because this is an original IP that no one's ever heard of. Sure, it's based on the book, but no one's ever heard of this, and no one's read the books. And people will go out and see movies that they're familiar with, that these existing IPs, like for instance, a Pixar Inside Out 2, which it is the highest grossing movie of the year, and it's the highest grossing animated film ever. So yeah, people are going to be a little bit skeptical to go out and see it, and they're just probably going to sit on it and wait for it to go to streaming. Kind of like what they're doing with Transformers 1, which that film that got highly praised and highly loved by critics and audiences who have seen the film, including myself, which I love Transformers 1, and it bums me out that that movie's not doing so well at the box office. Now you know why that studios are not willing to take more chances to put out original material, because no one's going to go out and support this movie, because people will only go out to movies that people know and they're familiar with. And that's unfortunate in the times that we live in today. And yeah, you can arguably say that because of the ticketing prices is skyrocketed, and especially during the inflation. I understand that, especially when you don't always have the time to go out and see this movie, when you have a busy schedule going on in your life. But I think this is a movie that I encourage you to go and rush out to see this in the theater, because especially you can take your kids, you can take the whole family, and they're going to be floored by this message. It doesn't but the movie doesn't try to be too preachy. That's the best thing about the movie, that it doesn't try to be too preachy. They were very subtle on the message. You're going to be emotional. There's going to be a laugh out loud moments that delivers the great humor. Especially there are a lot of few adult humors in the movie that they sprinkled in that some kids may not pick up on. But there are moments in the film that of how these animals survive out in the wilderness. They don't try to shy away from it. There are moments where you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe they did that. And I mean, I don't want to go into it too much, but and the audience around me in the theater had a great time watching it. I love how the writing, the voice cast was incredible. You barely would even notice who's in the film. You don't even pay attention until you watch through the credits to who voiced these characters. Lupita Nyong'o had a great year for movies recently, because she had a movie that came out months ago, A Quiet Place Day One, and Pedro Pascal, which I did recognize his voice at first, and I'm like, that's definitely him. And until the credits roll, I'm like, yep, that was definitely Pietro Pascal. And I thought he did a great job. And Mark Hamill played the bear. He doesn't have a lot of screen time in the movie, but he had his moments. And I thought that he was also good. Even the audience reaction, when we were like, wow, I did not know that these actors voice these characters. Overall, this is the best animated film I've seen all year. I encourage you to rush out to see it. And and Transformers 1 is already out recently, and I think you should definitely do a double feature on both of them. I think you're gonna have a great time watching both of these movies. I definitely agree that this movie should win for best animated feature film. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if Inside Out 2 wins, but I think that Wild Robot has more chance of winning, because it's something that that most people are not familiar with and they haven't seen before, and you're going to be floored by it from beginning to end. And it's not a movie that you're going to be emotionally crying in a devastating way. You're going to be crying in the most joyful way, and you're going to walk out of the theater with a giant smile on your face, because that's what it did for me. Oh, I'm going to officially give this rating for The Wild Robot a 10 out of 10. It is a masterpiece. I don't have a lot of negatives to think of. I think this is a terrific film from beginning to end. Now, have you seen The Wild Robot? Tell me what you thought about the movie. Tell me your take in the comment section below. And look, we still got a few more animated films that are going to be coming out later this year. We got Disney's Moana 2. We got the Mufasa's The Lion King, which some people are still saying that this is a live action, which I don't agree. It's a full-on animation, just done in the photorealistic animation style. And then we got a third movie that's coming out by Warner Brothers called The Lord of the Rings, the Rohan story. I can't remember the title on the top of my head, but most of you are going to know what it is. As of now, the Wild Robot is the best animated film that came out all year, and I will put this in my top 3 best films of the year for me. So far, there's still more movies to come. Guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Make sure you leave this a like and subscribe to my channel for more of my content, and help me reach 500 subscribers. That's my goal, to reach that high. And if you want to follow my social media links, the link tree will be down in the description down below. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from, and stay tuned for more of my content.